Life is a gift. Our gift back is doing it, is showing up, is trying our hardest. It's failing, it's succeeding, it's second tries.
Everybody, it's your host, Amber here, MLM strategist and entrepreneur who has worked with thousands of network marketers and influencers and entrepreneurs in your space, helping to brand them, systemize them, and grow their downline on a global level. Creative director with AK Social House and your host of the Behind Her Boom podcast, providing you with proven, simple, and actionable steps to build your authority and your brand so you can stand out from those sideline sisters, inspiring you with our special guest to think big and grow to 7 figures and beyond. Let's go. Hey everybody, it's Amber, your host from the Behind Her Boom podcast, coming to you today with a very exciting guest, Jenn Drummond. I am so thrilled to have her on here. She has been through some incredible life journeys and life events. She is going to be promoting her first book called Quit Proof, her Quit Proof book coming out in January of 2024. She's got a podcast. She has a Quit Proof community, and we're kind of going to dive into what all this Quit Proof actually means. And she has a mom of not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, but 7. So 7 little ones or big ones. We'll get into that. And I really just want to talk to Jenn about how she kind of incorporates climbing mountains, whether it's Mount Everest or whatever that mountain is, versus the corporate life. But because my community here is really focused on network marketers, we're kind of going to tailor and tweak that a little bit and talk a little bit about how climbing a mountain versus climbing your network marketing business, how in the heck do those relate? So thank you so much, Jenn, for being on our show today. Tell us a little bit about your story and your journey and what's brought you to where you are today.
You know, it's a combination of all the things, right? All of our journeys are all these little things along the way that have created our story. I'm so grateful to be here. So thank you. I guess we can start with, I graduated from college and took a job in finance because I'm expensive. And I knew that I was going to have to make a decent income to afford the lifestyle that I desired. Lucky for me, I had entrepreneurial parents. So I knew like, hey, you need to build a business, but for the business to work, you need to have people working for you so that you're not the only one making it grow. Right. I always say big mountains take big teams. So whatever your metaphorical mountain is, the bigger it is for you, the bigger team you're going to need to build to make that happen.
Love that.
Yeah, I hired myself out of a job so that I could be a stay-at-home mom. I struggled with fertility issues, and then all of a sudden they figured out the magic chemical cocktail that turned me into a little hen. And I have all these little embryos that became 7 beautiful humans.
Oh my goodness, I've done IVF too, with 2. Well, I had 2 embryos, gave me 2 babies. I froze 1. So that was
fantastic. I had 14 embryos and I'm like, wait a minute, what are we going to do with these? And thankfully 14 became 7 and not 14. Right?
Are they all twins?
No. So we planted 2 and only 1 ever stuck until the last batch was 2 for 2.
Okay.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
Yes, that happened.
Yes.
And then, that's very demanding when kids are little. And then all of a sudden they get into school and I had more free time. And I love that there's women out there that are stay-at-home moms and do all that. That's just not my personality, but I didn't give myself permission to get back into living my life. It was more like, I'm going to get these kids launched and then I'm going to do me. And I think a lot of us have this, when this happens, then that will happen, instead of like allowing that to show up right now.
Right.
Lucky for me, I can say this because I survived. I was in a horrific car crash in 2018 that should have taken my life and didn't. And instead of taking my life, it woke me up to the magic of life. And it made me realize, like, man, we do not have forever, friends. Like, we don't. There are so many things to see and do and experience and try and figure out that all of a sudden when you realize like life can end at any moment, you stop caring about what people think. Yeah. You start reevaluating these limits that you're putting on yourself and saying, is that true? Or is there more truths available to me? Is there a way that I could do things that set my heart on fire and be a mom and be a business owner? And so that was a big shift for me. I started creating this bucket list of all the things I wanted to do. I'm pretty sure it's going to take 4 lifetimes to make it happen. Because once I start doing something, I'm like, oh, I want to do this now or that now or whatever. In 2020, I was turning 40. So I wanted to climb a mountain for my 40th birthday to launch the next decade and signify its significance.
Right.
I asked some friends, if you could climb one mountain in the whole world, what mountain would that be? And the general consensus back to me was a mountain called Ama Dablam.
Okay.
So Ama Dablam is located in the Himalayas. It's the Paramount Pictures logo. So if you can kind of visualize that. And it means the mother's necklace. So to me, I'm like, oh, this is the perfect mountain. Okay, I'll climb that. Well, if you remember in the beginning of 2020, all of our plans got disrupted because of COVID.
Right.
So all of a sudden I'm a stay-at-home mom again without anything to really do because there wasn't anything to do except homeschool our children. And one day my son is struggling with his math homework. And I said, listen, buddy, we do hard things. You've got this. And he looks at me and he goes, if we do hard things, why are you climbing a mountain called I'm a Dumb Blonde instead of a real mountain called Mount Everest?
Oh my God.
I'm like, Ama Dablam, honey, not I'm a dumb blonde, but thank you. So he finished his homework. We looked at Everest. He went to bed. And I kind of came back to my mantra of, I don't get to choose when I die, but I sure get to choose how I live. And if Everest is the big all be all mountain to my son, maybe I should do Everest.
Oh my
And
God.
so I called a coach. And by the end of the week, I was training for Ama and Everest. And this coach gave me a book about climbing and training. And in the front of the book, there was a lady who got a Guinness World Record for doing something in the Alps. And in my conversation with my coach, I'm like, I could have done that. Like, I can suffer. My kids would actually think I'm cool if I had a Guinness World Record. They learned how to read on those books. And my coach is like, we'll think of something. I said, okay, fine. But listen, I'm not growing pumpkins or speed eating hot dogs. Like, that's not in my possibility. And a few weeks later, he came back with this idea of climbing the 7-second summits. I told him, I'm like, I don't even know what those are. What are you talking about? And he goes, okay, listen, it's the second highest point on each of the 7 continents. It's been done by one male. It's never been done by a female. They're harder than the first 7. And think about it, 7 continents, 7 mountains, 7 children. It sounds like a jackpot.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, it does sound like a jackpot. And I looked at it with my kids and I kind of thought about it. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do this. Like, I want my life to be significant and mean something and empower these mothers all over the place. Because if I can do this thing with 7 children at home, ladies, you can do whatever metaphorical mountains in front of you. Like, we are here to do big things.
Yes, I
And
love
so I
that.
stepped into the journey.
Oh my, I am like mind blown. It makes you feel like when you have these like little hiccups in the road or speed bumps, they're so mediocre compared to what the heck it is that you've got going on and what you're doing. But I think that's what we're so all guilty of, that, of doing that to ourselves, to look at something and say, oh my gosh, it's so scary. I can't get there. And then we fail, or we hold back, or we let that fear kick in, and we just get really sort of afraid, and then we don't allow ourselves to get to that next level in life or in our business. So I just find your story so inspiring, Jenn. And so, to be able to make an impact to so many women, homeschooling for one, I'm always like, kudos to you, because I'm just like, do you have an after school program and something else that you can go to? So these moms are like, I homeschool my children and they're here. I'm just like, wow, that is, that's something big in itself. But I also just
But
feel
now
like,
listen, my kids are back in school.
Okay,
now
good,
that
okay.
COVID's over, this homeschool, like, this house is not a
Gotta clear
homeschool
that
house.
up.
In fact, like, when school started a few weeks ago, my house and I just had a coffee together. We're like, we get peace and quiet for a few hours every day.
Right?
Thank you, school systems. Thank you, universe.
Oh my
Thank you,
goodness.
teachers.
And I just, we moved early in the year, and I didn't realize that we moved into this area that has a year-round school. And I had no idea what that meant. So I went on this like mom's group, and they're like, love it, hate it. I'm like, what is this? And now my son comes home. He's like, I have a 3-week holiday at the end of October. I'm like, you have what? We don't have a 3-week holiday at the end of October. So now I'm like trying to figure out nannies and camps. I'm like, where's the camps at? So it's a little chaotic. And but again, I always look at these like little humps, and my daughter broke her arm on Sunday. So, I mean, I could just like, she's only 4. So I could just roll up and be like, keep her home, can't live life. I gotta just be. But instead I'm like texting and just working it from the emergency room. You make do, and you allow those things to allow you to grow as a human being and as a business owner and as a mom and a wife to be at that next level. This is super,
and we do
super
it messy.
incredible. Yeah.
Right? Like we do it messy. I think that's
Do
the
it
biggest
messy.
thing, is understanding that there's this perfect visual of what it should look like.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like that unless you spend hours curating the stupid photo that you're sharing online. Like, I promise you. And so the reality is, it's this big messy deal. Like, I tease because one of my climbs was in Russia, and it was before Russia closed down. And it was a technical climb. So I spent a few weeks gathering gear to go climb this mountain because I needed dexterity. I needed to be able to feel my fingers on the mountain. I ordered 20 pairs of gloves, sent 19 pairs back, and kept the one that fit me the best so my hands would stay warm and I could still feel the snow and everything that was going on. I go to land in Russia and find out they lost my bags. Like, what do you mean you lost my bags? Like, this is not an option. Like, well, sorry, we lost your bags. So you have a choice. You can go home or you can go rent gear, but the climbing window is now, and we either do it now or we don't summit. And I said, okay, well, I'm so sick of being in airports that I guess we'll just go rent gear. And we rented gear, and I gave up. I'm like, you know what? We're not going to summit because nothing fits. I mean, I had to roll the jacket sleeves. I had to clip the backpack tight. The boots were too big. And I'm like, we're just going to go. And every day on that mountain is going to give me knowledge for when I come back.
Right.
It's going to give me knowledge for when I come back. And I'm just going to embrace what it is. Well, by the universe, conspiring to help me, we summited. We were one of the only teams that summited that entire season. And when I was coming down the mountain, the boots were so big that my toes kept slamming into the front. And so I broke at least one, maybe even 2 toes. And so I started butt scooting. Okay. Like sitting on the snow, scooting my butt so that I didn't have to like slam my toes into those boots anymore. And I can laugh about it now because I was on one of the hardest mountains in Europe, and I'm down climbing it on my bottom. No one asks you what you looked like while you were climbing. They just want to know, like, did you hit the summit or not?
Did you
right.
make it?
And
yeah.
so, right. So like the silly behind the scenes isn't shared, and that's okay. But I'm so grateful I did it with the imperfect start, with all the things that went wrong, because 6 months later, Russia closed. And I would still not be able to have this record because I'd be waiting for Russia to open.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Ah,
What does
crazy.
what does your kids think of all of this? Like who is
It's
mommy?
so
Is mommy
funny.
like a superhero, Wonder Woman? What?
Like for a little bit, I was cool because when I went to climb Everest, I had not been away from home that long before, right? Like you're gone to Everest, me 3 to 4 weeks. Most people are 6 to 8 weeks, but I live at altitude, so I could cheat the system a little.
Right.
And I went to the kids' school and I told the teachers, like, hey, I'm going to be gone. Never been gone this long. Grandma's coming. I have resources at home, but I just want you to be aware. So maybe have a little more grace with my kids while I'm gone.
Right.
And then the teachers are like, hey, let's do a What's Your Everest campaign at school. Why don't you come in and teach the kids about goal setting? And so I'm like, okay. So I did. And the kids put little hikers in the hallway, and they had a flag. And on that flag, they put whatever their Everest goal was. And then in the front of the school, we built this big mountain. And then I was a little hiker, and I had a tracking device while I was in Nepal. So as I moved up and down the mountain, all the kids knew where I was, and everybody was celebrating, and kind of like, it was a big journey. Like I summited, it was me summiting. It was my entire community that summited that season. Wow. And my kids felt so seen and so cared for. And then when kids came after school, they're like, you're the mom that climbed Everest. I'm like, yes, you can climb it too someday. I'll be your cheerleader. And
Oh
then,
my
you
gosh.
know, that dies. I mean, that's cool for one season and then no one cares. And now I come home, I set a world record. I'll have breakfast with my son. I'll be like, Mom, your breath stinks. Like, what's wrong? You know, like, it's
Don't you know
just,
what I've done?
I'm like, yep, I'm human. We're all human. We do cool things. We're still just humans. So
Oh my
whatever.
gosh. That is incredible, Jen. I mean, so you have this community now, this quit proof community. What is all that about, and who would it be best suited for?
Yeah. So I wrote the book Quit Proof: 7 Strategies to Build Resilience and Achieve Your Life Goals, because I quit on myself. I did. I put myself on the back burner and said, hey, I'm going to come back to me when I have more time or whatever my excuse was. And I think like back to that car wreck where it woke me up. And I think of what has happened over the last 5 years since that car wreck and since I stopped quitting on myself.
Right.
The impact I've had on other communities, on other kids, on my own children, on places that I got to visit, people that I got to meet. Like, my life has been nothing shy of magic because I stopped quitting on myself. And so I built this community because everybody needs to not quit on themselves. Because if you do, whatever sets your heart on fire and who you are, like, we all benefit.
Yeah.
You doing you benefits me. Me doing me benefits you. And the bathwater raises for all of us. But we can't do it alone. It is so hard to do life alone.
Yeah.
So we want to do these big things. We want to achieve these big things. We need to have a team. So this community is all about cheering each other on, celebrating our wins. There's no playing small, like, own it, brag, do whatever, have it feel uncomfortable. It's good. We need to get used to bragging. Need to get used to owning, like, we are awesome people.
Yeah.
Life is a gift. Our gift back is doing it, is showing up, is trying our hardest. It's failing, it's succeeding, it's second tries, it's successes, it's significance. It's all of that messy stuff. And
Yeah.
when we have a group to share that with, we get permission to be ourselves.
I love that, Jen, because I do feel like, I know for me personally, I would be really hard on myself to like post on social media, put myself out there. Can't post anything unless the kids are like well put to place, you know, they got a messy hair, don't throw them on social media. You're trying to create that, you know, that persona of who you are so that people, you know, they take you more seriously, you're more professional. But at the end of the day, we're all real and raw. So it's sometimes I'm like, oh my God, I got this amazing, you know, piece of knowledge in my head. I could just drop golden nuggets right now. And I'm like, no, not like that. You know, and then you just like, you leave it alone. But I really think some of the most influential people out there are the people that really, truly don't give a shit what you think. They're just out there to impact and to serve and to say what's on their mind and to be able to help, you know, change a life. I know if I hop onto a mentoring or a coaching call or anything like that, I always tell myself, even like if I get one little golden nugget that was so worth my time, that can literally, you know, change the span of my business or change how I talk to people or you know, what my offer is or whatever that is. So I love that you have this community, that it allows people or even encourages people to brag on themselves, because I think a lot of moms, they have that guilt that I'm not good enough. They compare themselves. They look around of, you know, who else, even in our network marketing space, if that's who we're talking to, or entrepreneurs, coaches, everybody will look to that next level. Who's doing it better than me? You know, and what are they doing? And I always tell people, look to the people that are doing it better than you so that you can work in that path and help yourself rise up. Don't look at it to say that they are better than me, because most of the time those people have maybe 6 months or 6 years or some time of on you. You know, did you start today? Did you start yesterday? When did they start? You know, and everybody has their own path to be able to rise and be their best version. But if you stop comparing and you allow yourself to brag and allow yourself to enjoy those wins, and it comes down to self-belief, really believing in yourself that
Totally.
you're out
Yeah.
there
And
to,
you got to ask, like, if you're going to compare their performance in that arena, then to do a fair comparison, you need to compare all your arenas,
yeah,
right? So when I was climbing mountains, there are some people that were super fit, amazing mountaineers. They have no children. They have no business. This was their profession. I
right,
can't compare myself to them. Now, I can desire to have their skills or their abilities in the mountain, but if I did that, I'd have to give up all these other pieces of me. And
right,
I'm not willing to do that. My training looked like a lot of soccer games with a 12-inch step and a backpack full of water bottles. because then I could watch my son and still get some fitness in. Was it perfect training? Absolutely not, but it did the job. And I still have a great relationship with my child. And
Right.
so really comparison is the death of joy, because you're not meant to be that other person. Your story's different. You have more angles, more facets to who you are as an individual. And we need to celebrate all those pieces.
Yeah, absolutely. This is fantastic, Jenn. I mean, where can people reach out and find you? And what's the most motivational type of content that you post on social media for them to come and want to connect with you? What would you say that would be like? What's your main focus around that they would come in and check in on you?
Yeah, so it's definitely quit proof, right? Like, I don't want you to quit on yourself. I
Yeah.
want you to think about this concept of, I don't get to choose when I die, but I sure get to choose how I live. So every day, what choices are you making that are supporting you and who you are and what gifts you have and how you impact the world? And today, do just one tiny thing that says, thank you, self, for showing up and doing your best. And watch how those little pieces build momentum and help you just enjoy life more, achieve more, have more fun, and be more you. So the best way to reach me is jendrummond.com. So that's double N on Jenn. You'll have a link to my Amazon book, Quit Proof. If you buy it in pre-order, we have a ton of freebies and all kinds of fun stuff going on. So definitely worth doing that. And
Yes.
then on my website, you'll have access to my different social media channels, and whatever one you want to connect on, please do. Please reach out and say hi. I am all about cheering each other on. And this community is for me just as much as it is for you.
It's fantastic. Thank you so much, Jenn. I really hope that this has inspired the heck out of anybody who is just even remotely thinking of quitting on themselves or on their business or on whatever it is. Maybe it's a new course you're trying to launch or a new business you're trying to start. I know in the network marketing space in general, it's, probably 70% of people, they end up quitting too soon because they just, they sort of give up on where it is, where their next level is to grow. And I really love this. I feel like they can listen in and read your book, get your book, and have that more self-belief in themselves to keep on going and keep on kicking ass in their life. And no excuses. She got 7 kids. So whether you have 1, 2, I have 2. I feel like I can, sky's the limit right now with 2 kids. Yes, my gosh. I appreciate this so much, Jenn. You guys, thank you so much for listening in. This is Amber, your host of Behind Her Boom podcast. I will make sure to put all of Jenn's contacts in the notes here so that you can reach out and connect with her. Make sure you get your butt on Amazon and you get a copy of her book. And thank you again, Jenn, so much. Okay, guys, bye for now.